Not in the same way that we talked about parenting. I want to drill down more to a husband-wife relationship. How does a young husband know he's succeeding as a husband? Maybe kids haven't come into the picture yet. What are some markers that he can zoom out and point to? Again, I don't want to get into the report card thing, but I want to know if I mean, maybe your wife will tell you, her own demeanor and health will tell you if you're succeeding as a partner of hers, but how do I know if I'm a good husband?
The smart aleck in me wants to say.
Don't say anything smart aleck. I'm trying to have a serious moment here. Gosh.
I was going to say, you won't know for about 30 years, and then you'll know. Too late. No, I would say this. Okay, let's go at it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might purify and cleanse it.
Mm-hmm.
How would Jesus say he would know that he's being successful as he loves you? You're part of the church, so he's loving the church.
Yeah.
So we say to Jesus, "You're the husband, you're the bridegroom of the church. How do you know you're doing a good job here?" So I would say, I'm committed to my wife's flourishing,
Mm-hmm.
for her knowing she's beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
the way she is beautiful, knowing that she's loved and accepted, knowing that she has a role, that she has a purpose. And if I see that growing,
Yeah.
I see confidence in her start coming out. I see her coming out of a shell if she's been in a shell.
Mm-hmm.
Or I see her start to try to use giftings that I knew she had that she didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
If I see her flourishing, then I know at least I'm not getting in the way
Mm-hmm.
of her growth as a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
her growth as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you just have to pay attention, and it's hard to do over a short period of time. You can't say, this week can I do it?
Mm-hmm.
No, but over a year or so, you can see.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Many days I think I'm doing a good job, and then many days I think I'm doing such a terrible job. I've worked so much this week. I've hardly been home. I haven't taken her on a date in a long time. She's stressed. I don't know how to mitigate that stress. So one lesson I'm in the midst of learning is that I can't own things that aren't mine to own as it pertains to my marriage. Like my ability to affect a whole lot of change and control anything is way more limited than I want to believe. And so the recent journey in my own marriage has been one of maybe surrendering and saying, okay, I'm going to show up and I'm going to initiate, like you talked about earlier. But ultimately, God didn't assign me the task of making sure that all of Corinne's problems are solved every day. But many days I use that as the metric for success. Okay, if she's not stressed, then I must be doing a good job as a husband. And I don't know if you can relate to that, or if I had other conversations with men who feel similarly, but I face that often.
Our good friend John Townsend and his friend wrote a book called On Boundaries years ago. That book has a lot of good stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
They did a good job with that. And I think all through our life, as far as long as I've lived, you're continuing to redo those boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think early marriage, you don't know where those boundaries are. Mm-hmm. And so you feel like I'm responsible for my wife's joy.
Yes.
You aren't. You can't. That's her deal. She's got to work with the Lord, and I have to leave her. I'm responsible not for not being the obvious cause of her frustration, but I can't make her joyful, and I can't make her loving. I have to give her the room to be disciplined of the Lord, because He loves her better than I do.
Yep.
And so I think the thing that I tried to do with Betsy, my wife, and I've tried to do with other couples is say, look, whatever the issue is, the first thing y'all do is both of you get on the same side of it.
Mm.
So if the issue is this conflict right here, and you're here and I'm here, we're going to be shooting at each other and pressing against each other.
Yeah.
So I want to take the initiative and come over and get on your side and say, I know you're frustrated.
Yeah.
And I understand why you're frustrated.
Yeah.
And I've probably been a part of the frustration. So let's figure out how to, can I help you deal with this, or do you just want to deal with yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're on the same side of it, and we're a team rather than we're two people trying to work out a conflict.
Yeah, that's really great imagery and really helpful practical advice. I think bolted onto that, something else I'm learning is I have found, this is going to come as a shock to you, but I've found that if Corinne's worked up about something and I come in and match it, and I'm like, worked up along with her, that usually doesn't work out too good. I think God has equipped husbands. I'm not saying He's not equipped wives maybe in a comparable way, but I think husbands are uniquely equipped with, in their seat on the bus, on this marriage bus, they're equipped with the ability to be a little bit more of a thermostat than they realize. And if things are real hot and they say, you know what, I'm going to come back down to about 70 degrees and be confident and comfortable in that, that serves their wife so well and demonstrates to their wife, hey, you're safe here to just breathe and come down. And I know it's crazy to think about. It just doesn't ever really work whenever I get worked up along with her, And the opposite is true. If I'm all hell-bent about something and she comes in hot about it, it just doesn't serve one another well. So it speaks to what you're painting about getting on the same side of this thing. And that's a mistake I regularly make as I meet her emotional level. Like, I'm fired up too. I mean, I'm easily fired up about things. Not even necessarily saying I'm angry, but if I can stay in a level position and measured, that really serves her well mentally and emotionally. So,
I just think a lot of times, we've talked about this before, but a lot of times you can bring that thermostat down by just acknowledging that the issue that's foremost in her mind, you can understand why that's an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She just needs somebody on her side.
That's right. Corinne says that often. She's like, she'll say it a bit more aggressively than I'm going to say it, but I just need you to validate me. Not saying make this as big of a deal as what I want it to be made into, but somebody see me that this is hard in this moment.
Yes, right.
Yeah. People, she just wants to be seen, and I get that. Like, I can put myself in that position of thinking if a bomb has gone off, let's say at Kerygma Ventures or out here at the ranch, and I call and need air support, and you dismiss me and say, okay, Sam, that's not that big of a deal. It'd be far more helpful for you to say, well, we've got a mess on our hands. Let me get in and serve you in it. I don't know. It's a fine line. You don't want to perpetuate people's emotional outrage, but you do want them to be seen.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Okay. It's good.
One thing, going back
away.
to a former question you asked about something that I did as a family. I got all my family to use the proverb of the date.
Oh, cool.
And so not everybody did it all the time, but every month we would go through Proverbs. Mm-hmm. And so that often was a jumping off place for our discussion.
Yeah.
And so, like right here, one of them came to my mind, when the first person that tells you the problem is not got the whole story.
Yeah.
That's Dudley's interpretation of a proverb.
Yep.
So as you're listening to an issue, just know that the person you're listening to is telling it from their perspective and whatever.
Yep.
And so, but anyway, going back to that whole thing, I do think it's a great discipline in life, even if you don't do it for a while, to take whatever proverb of the day it is, the date, and read that proverb and just see if there's one or two in there that you can think about, meditating, whatever. Pretty soon you got the whole, you do it 12 times a year.
Yeah, that's good.
Pretty soon you got the whole book of Proverbs, kinda.
In your brain.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, Sam here with Kerygma Ventures. Listen, we're so glad that you've been enjoying the content we've been providing here on YouTube, Instagram, podcasts, wherever you consume podcasts. Many of you may know, some of you may not know, we provide all of the video and audio content that we do for free so that we never have to charge for it. Somebody like you can access it anytime free of charge. The reason we're able to do that is because people like you who have been blessed by the content, are encouraged by it, or transformed by the message of the gospel that you've heard from Kerygma Ventures, have said, you know what? I want to participate financially with what's going on there. So I'm asking you right now, as humbly and honestly as I can, will you join us by being a monthly supporter, an investor in what we're doing here at Kerygma Ventures? We're incredibly grateful for those of you who are already joined with us in that work, and we'd love for more of you to join us if God puts that on your heart. So I'm inviting you now to do that. Hope you continue to enjoy the content. Thanks.